Hey, hey, we're here with Adelle. Thanks for coming in today. It's
Thanks
really
for
good to
having
have
me.
you. It's Women's Wednesday, so this is a really important day for me to do this. I'm so glad you're here. You are the first woman that's been on the
Really?
show, so that's amazing. Thank you for being here. Alfred's over here in the corner. I didn't introduce you on the last one. Aw, yeah, we've got Alfred over here. So this is all brand new. So
Yeah.
it's very exciting, very new. It's going to be a big adventure. So, yeah, thanks for being a part of it. Women's Wednesday, women lifting each other up, inspiring each other, motivating each other, being there for each other. It's just so important. And I feel like it's not happening enough in a lot of circles. It's unfortunately a competitive world. And I feel like a lot of women tear other women down, and we should be like fixing each other's crowns, and telling each other how wonderful we are and how can we support each other and be there for each other. And there just needs to be more of that.
Yeah.
Like, have you experienced that in your life, or do you have like positive stories of strong women around you?
I have both. So, I mean, it's tough too, especially when you get sober, because I feel like, a lot of those past experiences dictate how you interact in the program. So, for me, for a long time, I gravitated towards guys.
Me
Right? It
too.
was really difficult for me to develop strong female friendships. Even now, it's like
Yeah,
my circle's pretty small. I mean, we
me
kind of
too.
had that conversation recently
Uh-huh.
because I found that, like, you know, the tolerance, the patience, the love, the kindness, the judgment, I wasn't able to let people be in their own journey and be friends with them. That took me some time.
hmm
Right. And I think, I've been guilty of it too, especially early in sobriety, where it's like you judge other people around you because you really don't want to look within yourself.
Amen to that. Yeah.
And so that happens a lot, I think, more with females. Not that it doesn't happen with men too, but I see it. It's more outcast, or not outcast. It's more like women are just more vocal about their judgment.
Yeah,
I think
they
guys
are.
may judge, but they're not as vocal about their judgment as we are.
Yeah.
And so out of fear of not wanting to be the one judged, I just avoided women altogether.
hmm I was the same way, and I'm still like that, to be totally honest, in my life. Like, I have way more guy friends than girlfriends. I mean, my circle is pretty small, but most of the people that are in it are guys. And it's not that I don't want women friends, but I found the same thing. Like, getting sober, I was more comfortable after around men. Like, where do you think that comes from? What is that all about?
Um, I think it depends on the person,
hmm
right? So for me, it came from a couple of different things. So like I remember in junior high, I was bullied. I just got,
By other girls.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So it was the girls that were the meanest. And then in high school, I had a couple of really horrible experiences, and it was from female friends. So a lot of my trauma was around females,
hmm
right? Even though I had like sexual trauma, it was a result of a situation that two of my girlfriends had put me in.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So my trust for women was just not there. And then when I turned 18, my mom and I had a fracture in our relationship. We have a
Mm.
great relationship today,
Yeah.
but that also impacted my ability to I just didn't trust women.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, women are untrustworthy. The whole gender got scratched off the list.
Well, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. And I look back on my childhood, I'm trying to think of, my experiences with females. I didn't get bullied per se, but I feel that I had issues with girls when it was like revolving around a boy, or just that. I guess it was a competition thing with me. Like, I went into acting and modeling at a really young age. And even though I was really friendly, I feel like the girls around me as a teenager were very, very judgmental, and it was super competitive. Like, when I came out here from Canada, it was the biggest culture shock of my life. I mean, I got here and I'm so friendly. I'm like this Canadian that's like, hi, talking to everybody. How are you? Oh, it's so beautiful out. Like, this whole thing. And people, the women were like, what is wrong with her?
Yeah.
you
I
know?
experienced that too, but I'm from Texas, so it's
Uh-huh.
normal to walk down the street and be like, "Hi, how are you?" Did
Yeah.
that here, and people, are like, why is she talking to me? I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, okay, never mind. You know, it's you don't have to be pretentious about everything. But I know we're in Orange County, but relax.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's a little bit of the culture we're in sometimes is people just aren't as friendly down here or like yeah, it's just different from where we're
Yeah.
from.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think as women, we need to be mindful of that and our intentions and our judgments and in any way that we can, like move forward from that. I try every day to compliment a woman, whether it's just someone on the street, like, you look pretty, or I love your shoes, or even if I don't, I just like make an attempt. You know what I mean? Like to be nice and say something nice that maybe they'll do the same for somebody else, and just be that person because we should be paying it forward like that. So you sponsor women, right? Are you used to?
I used to, yeah. I don't have any
Yeah.
sponsees right now. I feel like COVID just kind of changed all that.
Yeah.
And honestly, I went through a period where I wasn't really in the program. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, so I went through a period where I don't know, it just changed with COVID.
Yeah.
Like I could never do Zoom
Oh, me
meetings.
neither.
And so it was tough. And I'm in the process of rebuilding that group and connection because I
Uh-huh.
felt like there was a void in
Mhm.
that area. And so, rebuilding a group of community of women again, but
Yeah.
it was tough in COVID.
Oh, yeah.
And I was going through a lot and it required my full attention. You know, when it rains, it pours, but that's
Mhm.
just how my life's always been.
Yeah.
So like when one thing happens, like 15 things happen.
Yeah.
And I had to be home with my family a little bit more than I expected at that time.
Mhm. No, I totally understand that. I couldn't do Zoom either. Some people have hit me up to come on this. They're like, "Well, I just want to come on over Zoom." I'm like, "Nope. Sorry, it's in person." You just don't get that same connection.
Yeah.
Like being in person with somebody, sharing a space with them. It's just you get that emotion and you get that authenticity. So it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
So, when did you get sober?
I got sober originally in February of 2014.
Okay.
And I got sober in Thailand.
Wait, in Thailand.
Yeah. I got sober in
Tell
Thailand.
tell us that story.
Well, I was doing a lot of cocaine, and
Okay.
the short answer is, was like, well, I don't want medical records in the U.S. And so that was one piece. There's a couple of different reasons. There was also
Okay.
the finances. I couldn't, today everybody swipes their insurance cards like their credit cards. Like that wasn't an option for me. So
Uh-huh.
when I was ready to get help, I asked my parents for help. My mom said, I will pay for treatment once and once only. And if you relapse, you're going to be homeless and on your own.
Mm.
She meant it.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, all right. I got to get where can I get the most for my money? Because there was a budget. And it was all run by British, Western. There was a couple Canadians, but it was all Western medicine. But just the overhead was so much lower. So I was able to spend 60 days there. It was
Very
an amazing
interesting.
experience.
Wow. Resourceful.
Yeah. And then this part of my story, but about 5 or so years in, my husband and I were pregnant. We found out that the baby had a genetic abnormality, had to make the decision to terminate since they said there was literally 0% chance that the baby would survive. And so after about 6 months, I just didn't want to be alive anymore. So I drank once, one night, and woke up and realized that alcohol wasn't as helpful as it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had no desire to drink again, but then I just didn't want to be alive. Ended up going to an amazing trauma program on the East Coast. Spent 45 days intensive there, working through a lot of the trauma that I had just never, it was there. But I mean, the steps in the program isn't like, it's not a trauma program. It's designed to teach you like accountability and,
Right.
powerlessness over alcohol. But all of that from the mental health side, I had never really addressed or dealt with. So I finally did at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, July 14th, 2019. So
Okay.
I'm coming up on 4 years now this time.
Okay. So I was going to ask you that. So did you you must have obviously looked at that as a relapse.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah. So I did look at that obviously as a relapse, but I also somebody told me recently to not discount the time and work that I put in years prior.
Absolutely.
And I
Yeah.
think that it's something that we don't talk enough about
Mm-hmm.
is, everybody focuses on continuous sobriety. And I don't really consider my relapse as a failure. I consider
No.
it a huge growth opportunity for me.
Right.
That being said, relapse today is really dangerous because fentanyl is a factor here.
Yeah.
And like that's, thankfully I never messed with that.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to be really careful.
Oh, yeah.
But for me, I have, gosh, what year is it? I have almost 9 years in the program
Yeah.
of doing a lot of work on myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it has been an imperfect journey.
Right. And life is imperfect, and we're beautifully imperfect women, and it's all part of the journey. And I completely agree with everything you're saying. I don't like how certain programs will discredit time, right? And I feel like that time all counts because of all the lessons and everything we learned through that process. And relapse is usually part of the journey. Unfortunately, like that's just the truth. And most people don't get it the first time. Most people don't get most things in life the first time.
Yeah.
Whether it's relationships, careers, hobbies, whatever it is, like we have to experience things and go through things and learn and grow. And that doesn't mean that should take away what we've done before that.
Yeah.
In my opinion,
I
right?
agree. Yeah.
Like,
So, I mean, the way I was told to look at it is I have 9 years of sobriety, and that journey has been imperfect.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's a really good way to look at it.
Because combined, I do have 9 years that I put together of a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't been continuous.
Mm-hmm.
It has been imperfect.
Mm-hmm.
And the imperfections are really where I grew the most.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be the wife I am today, the mom I am today without all of those things.
Mm-hmm. And I think for women to hear that, and especially, what you went through that led to that, so many women go through. I was just talking to somebody yesterday that lost they had their baby and then it died right afterwards. And they go through these experiences and they question, was it something I did, or their self-worth, or, could I, woulda, shoulda, something. And it needs to be talked about more too, that this is unfortunately part of life sometimes, and how we get through these unbelievably hard situations and come out stronger on the other side.
Yeah.
What were the key things that helped you get through that situation?
Oh, I mean, I'm trying to remember because, like, at the time I had a lot of heavy work to do on myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's more about daily things that I do to stay balanced and mentally well, to
Mm-hmm.
not ever get to the point where I'm like crashing and burning.
Yeah. So you have a routine in place.
Yeah.
What does that routine look like? I know you get up really early, right?
I do.
And okay, well, let's hear it.
Okay. All right. I get up at 4:45.
Nice. I love it.
Yeah. I usually like to drink my Celsius.
Uh-huh.
Switch coffee for Celsius. I have Celsius every morning. I've given up a lot of things in life. I'm not giving that up.
Yeah.
So, and then I just like to at least have like 45 minutes of quiet. And then I usually go for a run, and then I'm usually in the gym boxing, and then I work.
Okay. And the boxing, I mean, I love this. This is so empowering for a woman, because you took up boxing how long ago?
So that was during COVID.
Okay. So that was something you found that helped you, worked for you during COVID.
Yeah. So it was I was just trying to stay active. I've been active my whole life. High level athlete. I've done Ironmans. Like
Nice.
Like movement is really important for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also very competitive. And so I got hooked up with a boxing coach at the time. Didn't really realize it was like a boxing coach. It was like all this experience and stuff. So ended up just like, it started with training. And then it kind of just grew. I don't know if it was like me turning 29 and like realizing that I'm about to be 30 and just, I don't know, there's a lot of stuff going on. Right around the time I got married, at early 2022, where I just had this epiphany. Was like, I want to fight.
Nice.
And my husband was like, huh?
He's like, what'd you say?
He's like, Adele, you've had a lot of crazy ideas, but like, relax. I was like, no, I'm serious. I want to fight. So then I went to my coach and was like, hey, I want to fight. He's like, okay, go get headgear and a mouth guard. Come back. I was like, okay, cool. So I went to the store, got headgear and a mouth guard. I don't know what I'm doing. I've just done pad work, bag work, whatever. And so he's like, all right, jump in the ring. You need to start sparring. So I did. Loved it.
What did it feel like? Like, what was it giving you that you needed?
I guess you just get this adrenaline rush
Mm-hmm.
and like kind of like this dopamine high,
Mm-hmm.
especially like when somebody can hit you back.
Yeah. I mean, how is it getting hit in the face? Like, that is honestly terrifying to me. To not get hit in the face, right? But what does it feel like when you get hit in the face? Like, do you get mad? Like, what?
No, I get excited.
You get excited.
Yeah. So I get excited. I'm like, okay, here we go. Yeah. Like, I'm going to get you back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just this, it reminds me, like, I feel like I'm dancing on the edge.
Wow.
Right? And most addicts and alcoholics love to dance on the edge.
Right. We like that. Yeah.
Right. So I get that feeling of being on the edge, without having to get drunk or high.
Yeah.
And I just love that. And I know I can't do it forever.
Mm-hmm.
There's a certain period in my life where I'm not going to be able to take hits to the head.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have this window where I get to do this, and see where it takes me.
And you fought already.
Yeah, I've had a couple of amateur fights.
Yeah. And you're getting ready to fight again? Or what's going on right now that's going to lead you up to another fight?
Right now, I'm trying to cut back down on my weight. So I fought a little heavier last time. Didn't really like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to get my weight back down and just continuously sparring. The tough thing is, like, it's really hard to find fights because of my weight.
Okay. Because you're too small.
No, I'm too tall.
You're too tall.
So I'm tall. So that's like, everything's weight based. It's not height based.
Okay. Got it.
But that, like, I only have so much that I can cut down because of my height.
Okay, that makes sense. I understand what you're saying. So that makes it hard.
There's like a range where I can be with my height, and muscle mass. Like, I can cut muscle, like, but there's a bottom. There's a floor, to what I can go down to.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what makes it tough, because a lot of fighters are just smaller, and so like they're fighting at like in the 130s, and there's no way I can ever get down there.
Because you're how tall? 5'10"?
Yeah. But the way I'm built, I can get into the 140s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I walk around at like 165.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to get my weight down to where it's like in the 150s. And then I can cut down to the 140s. But that's that I'm lean.
Yeah. And I would imagine because of your lifestyle, you're doing it in a healthy way.
Yeah.
Right? You hear some stories of people cutting weight and it's like, whoa.
Yeah, I've heard some stories. I had no idea what that was like until I did it the first time.
Yeah. What did you do?
Followed direction.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a friend that, and I told him, I was like, hey, they found a fight for me. I have to be at this weight and I've got 3 weeks. I have no idea what I'm doing. And so he wrote down like how much protein, fat, and carbs I should eat a day. And he wrote down this protocol for me and I just followed it.
Nice.
Yeah. I was hungry. I was really hangry, actually.
I was going to ask you, yeah, because like I get hangry and I'll get headaches. Were you getting headaches or not so much?
I was like the last day because I was in the sauna a lot. So like, I guess my water cut off at like noon the day before. And so like that night, my husband was like in the sauna with me and he's like, how you feeling, babe? I'm like, don't talk to me.
Yeah.
Don't talk to me. I don't want to talk to you right now. So he knows, just like,
yeah,
he still goes to the sauna with me.
Mm.
Yeah. But he knows not to talk to me now.
Yeah. And you started doing cold plunges? You do?
I love cold plunges.
It's like people are like preaching it.
Yeah.
Is it really, I haven't done it. Is it really that amazing? Like, what do you get from the cold plunge?
So your muscles feel great.
Like right in the moment? Like, do you get like a rush when you're doing it in the moment? You must, because it's like freezing.
Yeah. So it's hard to say. Like just an ice bath. I've taken many of those, and they're just unpleasant, and you're kind of cold for an hour afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Where I get the really the rush and that euphoria, and I feel really, really good, almost to where I could take a nap that afternoon, is when I do alternating between 18 to 20 minutes in the sauna, 3 minutes in the ice bath, and you do that 2 to 3 times.
Whoa. And you don't get dizzy or light? Like, I feel like I would pass out.
You're going to do it with me.
We talked about this last time.
You're going to do it with me.
We'll go, Alfred, we're going to go film it. Can we film it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. If I start to pass out though, you're going to catch me though, right?
You'll be fine.
Do people ever pass out?
No.
I mean, no, they don't. It's just,
you're in ice. You're not going to pass out. You're going to be very aware of how cold you are.
okay.
You will not pass out.
Okay. 18 minutes in the sauna, 3 minutes in the ice.
Yeah.
Back and forth. And so you get like a euphoric feeling when you do that.
Yeah.
And you do that every day, or how often do you do it?
Like I try to do it once a week.
Yeah.
I'd love to be able to do it more, but I also have a job.
Yeah. So you don't have time to just do all that all the time.
Yeah. If I get to the point where I can just box for a living, that would be great.
Yeah.
But I'm not there.
You never know.
Yeah. Even if I did, I think I'd still do other stuff.
Yeah.
I like working with people.
Yeah, I know. Me too. Excuse me. So the boxing, for women out there that are scared but want to go and do boxing, like what would you say to them?
I wouldn't say it's just boxing. I would say anything. A lot of people are intimidated on like how to live an active lifestyle because like they don't have a background as an athlete or just like even just showing up for the first time is intimidating. It's starting. And then just being consistent.
Yeah, I feel that way. Like I've been wanting to start yoga. I've been wanting to do yoga for a really long time. And I have like every excuse in the book why I haven't done it. I'm not flexible. No amount of yoga is going to make me flexible. And I mean, just all this. And I don't go because I have felt really intimidated. And here we go with the women thing. It's a bunch of women in there that know what they're doing. And I feel like I'm going to go in there and feel stupid.
Can I tell you a story about yoga?
Yes, please.
My husband goes with me. And if you go with us, you will not feel stupid.
Okay. But do you know how to do yoga really well?
I do, but he doesn't. And it's pretty funny.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, I'm not trying to put him on blast. He's so much better. But if you can just picture this 6'3" oversized man trying to balance in a yoga pose, it's pretty funny.
See, that's how I feel I am too. Like I'm all toes. Like if I try to watch an aerobics video, like I can't like follow along. And I can't, like if I just bend over, like from a standing position, I have a really hard time touching my toes.
Nobody looks, I promise you. So in yoga, everybody only looks at themselves.
I think, I mean, yep. I can see
that there's mirrors everywhere. They are only looking at themselves.
Yeah. Okay. So you guys go somewhere locally, obviously. Is it one of those hot ones?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's also different types. So like, depending on what your style is, like I don't like slow yoga. I go to like, it's called yoga lattes, which is a mixture of Pilates and yoga.
Ooh, see, that sounds cool. So yoga lattes.
Core work. There's some like movement. I can't just stay in a yoga pose for, 90 to 120 seconds. I am bored.
Yeah.
That doesn't work for me.
Yeah,
I get bored very easily.
Me too. So, how are you with meditating?
Boxing is my meditation.
Got it. Good answer.
I'm an active meditator.
I'm an active meditator too. Like I love the thought of just meditating. Like the thought of it is amazing, but I have to be in movement.
But what is meditation?
Right. Like what is it really? We have this idea in our head that you have to be like sitting still in this position, and it doesn't have to be like that. meditation can be different for everybody, right?
When I just wonder, like, legitimately, like, what is the definition of meditation?
Oh, what is the actual definition? Do you know the actual definition?
I don't, but I'm just kind of thinking it's got to be a mindfulness based practice,
right? It's in a state of mind, right? Yeah, I like being in motion. For me, even when I'd like to go for a walk or I'll go for a drive. Like my son, religiously with him. Hey, Ryder.
Wait, your son's name is Ryder?
Yeah, is that
Yeah.
us? Ryder?
Yeah.
What's his middle name?
Shane.
Okay, Rain. Like if we had the same middle names, that'd be really crazy.
It would.
But yeah, I'll take him for a drive. Like that's our classic, that's my go-to. I'm like, Ryder, get in the car. We're going to go drive. And we'll go drive. And I feel like I can have those conversations with him way better in motion. Yeah. Or if I have to make like a really serious phone call, I'll get in my car and drive along the coast and make that phone call. Like I'm notorious for that. Or go walk along the beach and that's my meditation, or work out, whatever that looks like in motion. But I tried really hard when I first got sober to like sit and do the meditation still, like being still. And I just couldn't do it.
Me neither.
And that's okay. And I think that's good for people to hear.
Yeah.
Because people get really caught up on that and the whole God thing, that they have a really hard time finding that when they first get sober. And it can look different for everybody. I mean, what did it look like for you?
So I had an aversion to anything religious because I was raised Catholic.
Okay.
So I was burnt out.
Yeah.
So the God thing, I couldn't do it. So for me, at that time, it's like, okay, I needed to find a power greater than myself.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, that looked like, what are things I have no control over? It started with like Mother Nature, different things like I have no control over Mother Nature. I have no control over the ocean. Like I can let that go. I can recognize that there's a power greater than myself through that.
Yeah.
But it started really simply.
Mm-hmm.
I'm big on like energy. I spent a lot of time over in Southeast Asia and Nepal specifically. So the Buddhist philosophy of karma, like you get what you put out into the world.
Mm-hmm.
That comes back. I believe that.
Mm-hmm. So do I.
That has been a constant true factor for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand. Like I feel like, God is just a way of describing what we all recognize as a power, something that's greater than ourselves. And that's the easiest universal definition.
Yeah.
So I use the word God, but that to me is not anything that has to do with the Bible. Like I'm not religious, I guess, in that sense.
Me neither. We're actually very similar. Yeah, I'm a very spiritual person. I believe in Buddhism as well. Buddhism is not a religion, just I had a really hard time when I got sober with the whole God thing as well, and I pretty much did the same thing. It was the ocean, nature. I'm like, okay, I can relate to that. That can be my God, and now it really is everything. It's energy.
Yeah.
Like it is energy. Like we are all connected with this energy, something so much greater than us. But we're all part of it. And to me, that's God. I was watching this video this morning that someone had sent to me about sound and energy, and it was creating this image and with the vibration. And it really got me thinking about life and the vibration of life, and like what you're saying, karma, and what we put out and what we get back, what we manifest into our life. And I'm such a strong believer in that. Like this whole studio, the life I'm living today is from manifesting, believing it, living on a frequency of this energy. And, not that I haven't made mistakes and done stuff along the way in my recovery, but learning from that and growing in this space. And to me, like that's all God.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you have been going through a tough situation that I'd like to talk about. I've been through this situation as well. And I think a lot of women out there and men, are either going through it or have gone through it or know somebody that's gone through it. And that's dealing with family court and the system when it comes to our children through divorce, through breakups, or just, two people that had a child and fighting over that child, through custody. I know for me, my story, it took me over 2.5 years through the family court system to get to a point where I had my son in my life. And it was one of the hardest, if not hardest things I ever went through. Getting sober, going through a divorce, and this. Those were the 3 hardest things. And the family court system, couple things for me was I feel like you're guilty until proven innocent, not innocent until proven guilty. And if you don't have the financial means to have the proper representation, you lose your children.
You can.
And it's just shocking how the system is, and there needs to be change within that system. And I know you feel very passionate about that. And we'd all love to hear, what your experience has been.
My experience has been multifaceted, and it's been a huge part of my relationship with my husband. We don't have any biological children of our own. He's got 2 boys, different moms, and the 12-year-old Ryder. I'll use that name since we already said it. I adopted him. That was a very difficult process, though. When my husband got sober, and I don't want to just totally tell all of his story, but, I know what he's okay with me sharing. When he got sober, he had no resources. He got sober at Charlie Street.
Wow.
And then he was in sober living. He was barely making ends meet. He was managing houses. Like, he didn't have a safe place to put a child. And he had been using prior. And so him and his ex, CPS or DCFS is what we would call it. They both got involved, which is the juvenile court, which is different than family court.
Okay, yeah.
And that's a whole different, when those start to get layered, it becomes very confusing for somebody who doesn't understand what's going on.
Yeah.
And she made accusations at that time that he had to fight that were eventually proven to be false. And so then they closed out the case and just, made recommended, visitation. But because he had no space to actually put the child, she got custody despite that. And then she never followed the visitation. And so he didn't see his son for 6 years.
Oh, wow.
We had no idea where he was. I remember the call, like it was yesterday. He called me, and it was when I was in the trauma program after having lost the baby. And I was just getting ready to come home, and he was like, hey, his Ryder's mom just got picked up. She just got arrested.
Oh, wow.
And, we need to find my son. I was like, okay, all right, let's go find him.
Yeah.
And it was awful. Like, we couldn't do anything. We couldn't even we had to actually find her to serve her before we could even take action. Doesn't matter if the kid's not safe. I remember calling CPS. Like, I don't know. I could not believe that they didn't take him into custody.
Yeah.
Even though he was with her when she was arrested. The fact that they didn't take the child into protective custody at that time was astounding to me.
Where did he go at that time?
His sisters.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And who then, that was a whole thing. She then hid him. Anyways, I had to hire 2 private investigators. Like, it was a mess to try to find him, serve her. They turned over custody, and then it was a 2.5 year battle to terminate her rights. And there was a whole list of reasons why her rights were terminated beyond just that.
And for it to take that long, That's a really, really long time for
And an
everybody to have to go through that.
expensive.
Right.
Like it was, I'm grateful to have been in the mortgage industry in the year of 2020 because that's what paid my legal bills.
Yeah.
Had I not been able to do that, there's no way I could have afforded it. So I was just grateful that that very high paying job for a very short period of time came when it did.
Yeah. It was meant to be. I mean, so, in that situation, you look at people that don't have the financial means, like what would have happened?
I mean, you play the grounder out. I don't know how they would have been able to find him.
Yeah. It's shocking.
Like,
And
to find him, to go like, the lawyer said this judges never turn over custody to a parent who hasn't seen their kid in 6 years. Doesn't matter what's happening.
mm-hmm.
And the judge did. So I think that's a little bit of God.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's that good karma that you were talking about.
Yeah. And so that situation, although expensive, like it worked out okay. But then his half brother, that was a whole nother situation. And I can't say names for that. But, that was shortly after Ryder came into the picture. The half brother's mom, I don't know, she lost her mind. Something happened.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was a break. And in the year 2020, she, filed accusations of abuse. And so DCFS came, investigated, unfounded.
And they just show up, right? Like they just...
honestly, the social workers were really amazing. I think the social workers, they're not the courts.
Yeah.
Social workers are really smart. They're really savvy.
They're good people.
They know
social
what's
workers,
going on,
yeah.
but they have no control over the situation. Like they have to follow certain
protocols. Yeah.
So somebody, for like there's kids abused every day. For them, it's if they get a report like that, they have to look.
Right.
It's like, okay, look, our house is an open door. Come inside.
Right.
Like that's okay. So unfounded, completely baseless claim. And then January 2021, maybe 7-8 months later, she made another accusation. Again, unfounded. There's no merit. Like we know what you're doing.
And how are what I've always tripped out on too is how that other parent isn't then like charged with something. Like if you're, yeah.
I'll tell you how that gets there.
Yeah.
It has to be pretty egregious. So then 2022, another false accusation, this time with police reports and police showing up at our door and her just flat out withholding the child for 6 weeks over Christmas, over New Year's. It was awful. And like his brother's not understanding what's going on. Why don't I see my brother? Then filing, this is where those guilty until proven innocent situations are, then filing DCFS investigated. They said unfounded again. And then the next week files a restraining order. And there's no burden of proof when you file a TRO.
Mm-hmm. Right. You can just do it.
You can just make it up. Now the burden of proof comes in 3 weeks.
Right.
Completely lied. Like just completely just fabricated and completely lied. So then another 3 weeks where we didn't get to see him.
Wow.
And her actions just escalated every time to the point where CPS did finally step in.
Yeah.
And filed charges of emotional abuse against that person.
Okay.
But it took until May before that happened.
And the child in this was experiencing all of this and suffering through it.
Horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible. Yeah. I've never seen or experienced anything like it. It was awful. Like my husband cried on Christmas. This person wouldn't even let him speak to his son on Christmas. She was that. Like and at the end of the day, it's not about us. It's not about the adults.
Right.
The kids are the ones who suffer.
Oh yeah.
And there's got to be a better solution.
There has to be. I mean, there needs to be more advocacy. There needs to be people, foundations, nonprofits, awareness. This conversation more because it's going on all the time.
I spent building a case for him of like documentation of her behaviors to defend and show like, here's what it really looks like, and gave all of that, over to CPS. And I think that's why they finally stepped in, because it's just like, hey, the kid's the one who's suffering.
Right.
Like, this is not,
Yeah.
he's the one who's hurting here.
Yeah.
But, if I didn't have a background that I do, with a lot of access to lawyers that I could call and ask, and just professionals, my husband and I ask ourselves, like, what's the 9 to 5 parent gonna do?
Right.
Especially with what happened this past time, the accusations were so egregious that it's like, what would a 9 to 5 parent do?
Mm-hmm.
They would have gotten their kids taken away.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's about, how do you disprove this?
Right.
We learned that she could say whatever she wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And it was up to us to disprove it. Instead of, you make a claim, if you're making a claim or an accusation, prove it. It was up to us to disprove it.
Right. And that's where I think one of the major issues is. Like, these claims should not be just, okay, there needs to be proof. Sorry, there needs to be, we both have long legs. Yeah. There needs to be proof in that space. It's not fair.
I don't know.
Can you turn the air on?
Yeah, I don't know what the solution is, because like, there are kids who, like, I'm trying to think of the other side of it, right? Mm-hmm. There are kids like,
of course,
it's not just about proof. I think that even consequences could help, if you're like, certain states, it's actually a felony to make false accusations.
Okay. Yeah. See, I think that would be very helpful, because yes, I think it's gotten to the point where people just know they can get away with it.
There's no consequences.
Yeah.
So, and there should never be consequence for somebody that's trying to protect their child. Like, I understand that. But when it's blatant, malicious, self-serving, vindictive, and it is evident, and there's evidence to show that you blatantly did that and lied. If there's true, like, it's hard to get evidence to show somebody lied. Mm-hmm. But when there is evidence that it was false, there should be some severe consequences.
Absolutely.
Because right now, the way the state of California is there's only monetary consequences, which if a person doesn't have money, that means nothing. They don't care.
Yeah.
They haven't lost anything.
Yep. So what do we do then to create change?
I think there has to be, I think some of it's going to have to come from research, actual controlled studies of the effect that it has on kids. And we've got to show the why. I know, like, logic tells us that this affects kids, but how does it affect them? What are the long-term effects of stuff like this?
Yeah.
And then with education, we can promote policy change and advocacy.
Mm-hmm. So how are you guys now as a family?
Healing.
Yeah. What does that healing process look like?
One of the best things we were told by one of the social workers was just, to make his time with us as beautiful, as positive, and as memorable as possible. Mm-hmm. And so my husband's done a really amazing job at just trying to make his experience at our home, just be him and his dad again.
Yeah.
We're not going to focus on all the other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really all we can do.
Yeah. And love always wins. Yeah. At the end of the day, it always wins. When I was going through it with my son, it was dire. It was dark. At some points I thought, I'm never going to be able to turn this around. He had such a vision of who I was, of what he thought, what he'd been told, of what he thought. And I thought, I'm never going to be able to get past this. And I remained patient and hopeful and had faith and just showed up every day. Kids
are so observant and they're so resilient in many respects, but I think that they see a lot more than we give them credit for.
Absolutely.
And if you be true to yourself, like, parental alienation is one of the worst things that you can experience. But I think more often than not, the parent who's alienating the child is the one who loses. The difficulty is not doing the same thing that the other parent's doing. And I think that's where a lot of people, one of my best friends, I love her to death. She does that. You know, and I've she's better now, but like, you know, she went through a nasty divorce and it was like, he did this, so I'm going to do this.
Yep.
Like, who suffers?
Yep, exactly. Yeah. And people do that all the time. They do. It's so tough. And that's one thing that I've always preached is that no matter what, don't bring the other parent into it. You know, like I would rather have my son look at his dad like that's his superhero and his best friend and idol and all these things than go around and talk bad, because at the end of the day, like you're saying, it's only going to affect the child. You know, it's a selfish behavior, and it's so hard in relationships to not say bad things about the other person, you know, but it affects the kid.
Their own opinion.
Yeah. And they see over time, you know, they always see over time, and time heals, and consistency in behaviors and all of that. And the love shows, you know, action is a verb, you know, it's love is, would I say action is a verb? Did I say action is a verb? Love is a verb. Love is a verb. It's an action.
Yeah.
Love is an
I know
action.
what you're trying to say.
Okay.
Yeah. Love is an action.
Love is, it's an action, right?
Yeah.
And so we have to get up and show that action every day. You know, I have my son with me full time now.
So we have obviously Ryder full time.
Yeah.
And then his brother is still 50-50 because there's still some road ahead of us right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of out of our hands. But you know, all we do is we do what they say. It's not, the decision's not up to us, and we do what they say.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one of the other things my husband and I are working on is like, even just being a resource. Like I happened to be at one of my closest friends' birthday parties this weekend, and there was this mom dealing with this situation that was so much like ours. And she was from another country. She was so confused about our court systems. And so I asked a couple of questions and was like, oh, okay, so these people are involved. So it's not family court anymore, it's juvenile court. And so just being able to even be a resource, because people, it's
confusing.
It is very confusing. Overwhelming. It's
Isolating.
Like, okay, here's what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and so just, she literally hugged me at the end. She's like, I was so stressed. I had no idea what was going on. You know, and just, hey, here's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, here's, based on my experience, what I can tell you about the system and where you're at,
Mm-hmm.
And what road you have ahead of you. So that peace of mind helps a lot.
Yeah.
So we're kind of hoping we're still in the thought process and formulating kind of what we want to do, but in addition to research, advocacy, policy change, also just being a resource for education for parents that don't understand the system, don't understand, like, you know, moms and dads that get sober. It's like, okay, you have a past and you want to work to be in your kids' lives again. How do you go about doing that?
Mm-hmm. And it's the story for so many people. Yeah. We need this resource. I really, really hope and pray that you guys get it going and that it becomes an actual nonprofit, whatever it's going to be, organization that people can contact you. Yeah. And I think your story is so powerful, and what you've been through, and you just have such a way about you, a calming, nurturing, loving way that I feel people would be comfortable reaching out to you for help.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, on that note, is there anything else that you'd want to share? How about some positive stuff for women out there? Do you have a really good, positive story about another woman or a mentor, or who do you look up to?
Oh gosh. There's several people that I've looked up to in my life. A lady named Patty, and actually when I was talking about the person who told me not to discount my time in the program, that was from a lady named Judy Crane.
Judy Crane.
She's badass.
Yep, I know that name.
So she had a big impact on my life and walking through a lot of my trauma.
I think it's important, no matter what to have strong women around you, even if it feels uncomfortable, even if you've had a hard time with women. Find at least one or two and find a mentor.
Yeah.
Someone that you can look at and go, okay, there's something I can learn from you. I do that in my life, no matter what. Surround myself with those people.
I think as long as you stay like always willing to learn,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there's a word for it, but stay in a place where you're always willing to learn and grow. Like I'm not done growing,
Yeah.
and I don't know what's in front of me, but I know that I'm not done growing. I know my journey is just getting started.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm excited. As far as a positive story, I have had some difficult times that I've had to walk through, but I also have some amazing things.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I own 2 houses.
Awesome.
Like, have a great career.
Yeah.
I've got a strong group of women that are around me, like people that I can call.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not alone. I've been to 22 countries. I've traveled the world.
Wow. I love that. 22 countries.
My God. And my husband and I, for our honeymoon, went to Jamaica. We got open water, then advanced open water certified, and then
Very cool.
we live.
Yeah.
Just because this stuff is going on doesn't mean we've stopped living our life. And
Awesome.
that's the one thing if I can emphasize that to anyone, it would be don't stop living your life.
Don't stop living your life.
Yeah.
Even if stuff's going on.
Yeah. Find things to do, find things that bring you joy, and don't let that person take up space in your head,
Yeah.
because we don't get to do this again.
Yeah.
It's a one-way road.
Mm-hmm. And it's over in a blink of an eye. So make the most of it.
Yeah.
And always live your life. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're amazing. Happy Women's Wednesday.
Happy Women's Wednesday.
Thanks for being my first woman on the show.
I'm honored.
All right. Bye, guys.